Everything I am, I connect back to my 5th and 6th grade year. And that's when I started making a connection to my passion. Elementary was hard. I went to 4 elementary schools total. Started out at Martin Luther King Elementary by my grandmother's house. And I guess that was out of convenience. Had 2 working parents. My mother worked at a bank and my dad at Philip Morris. And so he was in a factory, and so the way their work schedule was about, I guess at the time, I was their only child. They needed me to be in a place that was going to be convenient and safe. So I started out at King Elementary, and I remember a few things about elementary school. It's ironic because I remember more about pre-K than elementary school. Nevertheless, I transitioned in 1st grade to a place called Goodermuth. And between that 1st grade and 2nd grade year, my parents bought a house. And so we moved on the other side to the suburbs. And so it was really important that I go to school from home. And if I needed to walk, I could. It was a school called Slaughter Elementary. And then I concluded my elementary education at a place called Indian Trail. Indian Trail Elementary. And since then, they've of course changed the name and taken off the big hat, the man with the feathers in his hat as the Indian. That's not politically correct in 2022, but nevertheless. So elementary was a journey, but everything I learned and everything I needed, I got between 5th and 6th grade. There's a couple of things that I remember about elementary school. I remember wanting to make straight A's. I wanted to please my mother, and I wanted to make my father proud. I had all these young aunts, right? They were somewhere between high school and, I guess I'll say high school and college. And they had fabulous lives, They went to school, they had boyfriends, and they had activities that they did. And it was just a moving family that I came from. And so I had reason and I had purpose, but passion was building in me. And I wasn't sure where that passion was leading me at the time. Of course, you wouldn't as a kid. There's just a couple of things. 1st and 4th grade are very memorable. Memorable because I don't remember performing well. I remember not performing well. I have the report cards from 1st grade, and every quarter progress report, the teacher would put on there, Sharnae's a lovely girl. She needs to learn how to take care of herself. And then I saw my reading and my math grades going up and down all year. Well, what was that? Was that instability in the home? As a school counselor now and a therapist, I think, well, what could have been some of those challenges that I was dealing with, that I didn't have stability in my grades to be fluctuating up and down and never really reaching the grade that I wanted to. And I was really hungry to make those grades. And so my mom had gone in one day to speak with Miss Powers in 1st grade about that. And she said, I don't understand what's happening with my daughter's grades. She works so hard. She tries so hard. She does her homework. Oh, I know she likes people. She's a socialite. But what is it? And the teacher, a white lady, Miss Powers, she said, well, Sharnae's a good student. She's just not an A student. And my mother said, I just couldn't understand that, Years later, she told me, I just couldn't understand that. And she said, by 4th grade, she remembers, like I do, the struggle. It was another teacher. She had big eyes. I don't remember her name, but it started with a C. And Miss C kind of had the same sentiment, Sharnae's a sweet girl. She's definitely a community girl. She likes people. But she's just not an A student. Well, by 4th grade, I required my own testing. I said, listen, test me for everything. Well, they say my brother has some attention issues. Test me for that. And so I remember they took me into this little bitty room. It was like a closet almost. And they tested me, and sure enough, everything came out well. I wanted help so bad. I wanted to be connected to something that was showing me that I was making progress and that I had the ability to be a straight A student. And I knew that I did. I knew it was inside of me, but I just couldn't connect. Let me tell you, I tried anything. I remember around fourth grade, I went to get my eyes tested at the school. It was a regular test like they do for kids these days. Test your eyes, make sure you can see well, because when kids can't see well, they can't learn well. And so I went to go take the test, and I remember having in my mind, I'm going to fail this test because I'm going to get me some glasses, and those glasses will probably make me smarter. So I went in and, called the boat a house, and called the B an H, and called the Z a T, and came home with my note. I was so excited, and gave it to my mom. I said, Mom, guess what? And she said, what is it, Sharnae? And I said, I failed the eye test. And she said, oh, you did? Huh, okay. Well, I tell you what, they're going to retest you on Thursday. So if you go in there and you fail your test again, when you get home, I'm going to beat your ass. I'm going to beat your ass. I said, okay, yeah. Next day, I put that one hand over my left eye and said, T-H-L, boat, house, K, kite, question mark. Suddenly, I knew all of my characters. And of course, as the story would be told, I passed the eye test in fourth grade the second time around. But I was hungry. I was so hungry to be that A student. I wanted to be known for something. I like to sing, and I like to create things, and I like to draw, and I like to write, but it wasn't manifesting in school. And so the funny thing about that story is years later, in like ninth grade, I started having some real struggles in English. I said, Mom, English is like my second favorite subject next to chorus. And I just don't get it, I fundamentally don't get it. Why? I'm just not doing well. I'm not smart. And of course, because my mother is a wise woman, she said, Sharnae, I'm going to take you to have your eyes tested. I said, okay. I don't know what good that'll do, but all right. And she checked me out and got my eyes tested. And sure enough, I had a strong stigmatism in both eyes by then. And I needed glasses. And for sure, I was not seeing well. And so, listen, if there's any young people listening out there trying to get maladies so they can get some attention, don't do it, because it works. It works. Don't try to get those issues, because you will manifest them in your life. So I have been a lifelong glasses wearer ever since then, ever since that very beginning of high school. So yeah, it's funny how you can manifest things, but you can't always manifest your passion. You can't connect to it. And so getting back to that fourth grade teacher, I was tested and everything came back positive. Very average, which is the worst result. Failing would have been something. Okay, I'm at the bottom. I can crawl my way to the top. Excelling would have blown my mind, because I'd been like, you know what? I've been telling you guys for years that I'm brilliant. But average was hurtful. Average meant, what you think about yourself is true. You're average. And you're never going to be anything but average, ever. The teachers were right. Miss Powers was right. You're a sweet girl. You need to learn how to take care of yourself. Miss C was right in fourth grade. You're very, very sweet. You're a socialite. But guess what? You're meant to be average. And so I walked away from that test very average and kind of lost some hope. So by fifth grade, I had some goals, right? I had some very tangible goals I felt like I could reach, get good enough grades to be safety patrol. I wanted a title. I wasn't a sports person. I sang in the choir at church, sing in any choir somebody would let me in, sing to myself. But I wanted some authority. I knew that I couldn't take authority in my grades at that point. So I worked hard enough, just hard enough, to get that safety patrol position. And I took that thing serious. I mean, I was on the ball. So by fifth grade, I was in there with that big, bright orange belt. I'm out there with the safety guard. And I'm like, listen, I'm like police. I'm out here with the safety guard doing traffic in the school, just like the safety guards doing it outside the school. And so that was my first real leadership position in the community. And I took it serious. And some kids loved me and some kids hated me. And I didn't care because I had a badge. I had a badge. I didn't have to worry as much about whether I made the top grade anymore. But I had a 5th grade teacher. Her name was Miss Klushner. And Miss Klushner was an interesting sort. She was a short, salt and pepper haired lady, kind of pear-shaped. And, we all dealt with some racial inequities back then. But you did have those teachers that could move beyond that and see the student for who they were. And I really felt like with all the flaws that I had and all the flaws that Miss Klushner had, I think we came together and she saw something in me that I could not pull out of myself. And so I got to monkeying around a few times in class. And she pulled me to the side and she said, Sharnae, I know you're a safety patrol and you're a leader in the school. Yes, ma'am. I love my job. I love my job. I want to keep my job. I'm like, listen, don't let this one day of behavior make you think I don't want my job. I need my job, because my job is now connected to my self-esteem. So it's really important that I keep my job. And she said, yeah, I know. But, maybe you're not a leader because, some behavior you have, it's not really, it's not good. So maybe I had the wrong idea, and that's okay. If you're not a leader, it's fine. And I said, wait a minute. I am a leader, and I'll show you I'm a leader. It's just so strange how a lot of teachers back then and even today, would consider a student that either have some behavior concerns or some academic concerns or some social concerns. They have ADHD, attention deficit, never considering that their teaching style is the deficit. And so because of that, that student's attention is at a deficit. But see, Ms. Klushner's teaching style was not at a deficit for Sharnae. She knew that I wanted more. And she saw what I had, but there was more in me connecting to my real passion. And so one day, Ms. Klushner left me in charge. She said, Sharnae, I've been thinking about what we talked about. I gotta go make some copies. Back then, you could make copies and leave a kid in the classroom. So I was in charge and, oh man, this boy named Sean Duncan, oh God, was he terrible. He was really cute though. Yeah, he was really cute in retrospect, but Sean Duncan was an interesting sort, and my mother called him a thug. Even, back then, it was interesting. You had movies coming out like Juice or Boys in the Hood and things like that. I don't even know if that was out yet, but that was starting to emerge into culture. So you had these ideals about black boys. And he was just a mess. He didn't do his work. He rapped all the time and wore his hair in a cone. And so he rubbed me the wrong way. And if my mama didn't like him, well, guess what? I didn't like him. So she left me in that classroom, and as soon as she left in that leadership position, Sean Duncan started acting out. Boy, did I give him the business. I gave him the business. I said, you better sit down right now. He didn't. He got in my face, and next thing I knew, in the words of Miss Klushner, we were in a knockout drag-out. Right there in my first real prominent classroom leadership position. I got back. She got back in the classroom, and of course, our parents got called, and next thing you know, they wanted to give me a consequence, and him a consequence. I wasn't there. I didn't see it. All I have is the kids' words. And both of them deserve to be punished. You don't deserve to be that safety guard anymore. My mother said, wait. I know this kid. And I'm not talking bad about anybody's child, but he's got some troubled stuff. My child was left in a leadership position in that classroom alone. Where was the adult? Where was the adult? So, their case started to fall apart because my mother is definitely a part-time attorney. She knows things. And so, as it would pan out, Miss Klushner was right. I was a leader. And I also had favor on my life. I had a good mother. I had a mother who could get me out of every situation. Now, did I have a consequence at home? Absolutely. You think you're going to get me called up here to the school and I don't beat your ass? But I don't know. I don't know if she really spanked me. All I know is that I remember that being a leader requires more. And Ms. Klushner believing in me meant something to me. It connected me to who I was, which was I was meant to take people somewhere that maybe they hadn't been before, protect people. Maybe I had some ideas that could help them, to keep them safe, or to project into their future. So I took that into 6th grade. I thought I'm going to knock 6th grade out, and I did. 6th grade was the only year I made straight A's all year. Best thing about 6th grade was a lot of things. If I didn't have any other stories to tell about my life, 6th grade would encapsulate everything. First of all, I went to one of the worst schools in the county. It was known for behavior and a whole bunch of other stuff. Sat in a very rustic, kind of suburban, troubled area. I loved it. A good portion of my family lived there. But 6th grade was a change year for me. It was the year that I connected to every passion that I have today. And so this today, what I want you to get out of it is, how do I connect back to my passion? Because it never left you. It's inside of you, but sometimes it gets lost, right? We forget our story. We forget why we became passionate about that, and it seems like child's play. But let me explain something to you. What happened to me in 6th grade changed my life. It gave me direction. It gave my life form. It was the frame in which I knew I could step in. When people saw me in that frame, I was somebody, but bigger than that, I was being used by God. And so the first thing I remember from 6th grade is my social studies teacher. I think her name was Miss Johnson. Now, I had a strawberry shortcake doll, Orange Blossom. It was the only brown doll in the whole strawberry shortcake collection. Anybody remember that? Yeah, and so Orange Blossom was this beautiful baby doll. She was plush, and she had the sweetest face with rosy cheeks, and she was kind of like a red bone kind of color, light-skinned girl. And yeah, she was beautiful, and she smelled like orange blossom. And so I was always thinking of Miss Johnson. She looked like orange blossom, and I knew she was like sneaking and smoking, but that was fine because most of the people in my family smoked at the time. So but she had this way with social studies that just brought about this consciousness in me. Back then there was no African American history. You got American history, and then you just had to look puzzled at the rest of it. Slavery, yes, we had slavery, and we got through, and the white people did da-da-da, and the black people did this, and here we are. And you just got a lot of questions, and there's nobody there to answer them. But she didn't answer them. She didn't really answer them, but what she did was she ignited the questions in me. Where does that come from? What does that mean for us today? Or why do white people seem to have it so much better? And why do the kids seem to be smarter? And why is it that even my neighbors who are white, they live next to me, but they seem to be well? And sometimes I can see struggles in my family and my friends' families. I had questions, and I walked away that school year with questions. Questions that I didn't know I needed to ask. And so a lot of times in life, when you're connecting to your passion, it's not about the answers that you get. It's about the questions you walk away with. Yeah. Isn't that something? So I enjoyed going to her class. I look forward to that, and I look forward to art, and I look forward to PE, and I looked forward to English and math, because that meant I was going to be able to see Austin more. Yeah. So the funny thing is about Austin is, like Miss Johnson, he had a passion, and I was so infatuated with his passion. Austin was a drummer, and he was good looking. He had these big, huge lips, and he wasn't aware of me the first, and I could just look at him. He had on a collared shirt every day, And so I remember there was these twin boys that didn't look anything alike. Kenny and Kevin, they were ladies' men. They were like, ooh, Kenny and Kevin, you know. But Austin was a church boy. His mama put that collar on him every day like he was going to work. And he used to get in trouble in the English and the math classes because he would bang on the desk. I'm talking about, and he's banging and I'm watching, and the teacher's fussing, and he's got those pencils and he's throwing them in the air and catching them, and and you know, you get this cadence of church and band and percussion and all of those things that he was playing to my heartbeat, you know, just the drummer boy playing to my heartbeat. But I think when I look back over my life, what Austin really represented was connection to passion. You know, Austin is now currently a premier drummer, band organizer, travels with the Blind Boys of Alabama. A while back, I saw he was in the Alps, you know, recently started his family, and I couldn't be more proud of him. You know, we both have had some challenges and not always made the best choices in life, but I thank God for Austin Moore. Incredible man of God, loved his passion, didn't let girls or himself in his ways get him in too much trouble to where eventually he could not connect to his passion. And so I had Miss Johnson, I had Austin, and then I had the pre-K room. The pre-K room in the middle school was an interesting place because that pre-K room had my little cousin. It's not related to me, but he was in my church family, and that made him my cousin. And so he'd been through a lot. A lot of things was with his grandmother at the time, and she got him in a really good pre-K program, and he was in love with my mother. So my mom kind of helped with carrying custody of him, taking him back and forth to school, or, you know, if he was sick, just keeping him for the day if they had to work. So it was a really incredible relationship that she developed with Justin. His name was Justin. And so I got the job. I don't know how, but I got the job as the pre-K aide. And boy, did I take that job seriously. You know, I wanted to be on time and I didn't want to lose my position. And so the grades became a force to stay focused so that I wouldn't lose my real job. So school was like the work in the afternoon, right? So you can do the day work of your passion, or it was the day work so you could do your evening, afternoon passion, or get them on the bus. And so I always knew where to be. Where are you going, Charnay? I've got a job to do, and I'm going to do it. And if I don't get there, they're going to be looking for me, and they may miss me. Who's going to pass out those applesauce cups and collect all the crayon papers and make sure that the table gets wiped down and make sure the kids get on the bus? If I don't get there, who's going to do it? You know? And so I was really serious about that pre-K job, and to the tune where at the end of the year, they had a graduation, and my whole family had chickenpox. I mean, my aunts had it, my cousins had it, everybody had it. It was horrible. Even the adults, and chickenpox on an adult is nasty. You know, you don't hear about people getting chickenpox anymore, but back then, you know, in the 80s, you got it. And so, I started with like 2 bumps on my face, and my mom that morning, I got dressed. I was like, God, I hope she doesn't see these bumps. You know, I gotta get to school. I need to be here for my pre-K class. And she said, Charnay, listen, I know you want to go, baby. I know you do, but you just can't do it. We can't risk anybody getting infected with chickenpox. I said, Mom, listen, now I'm going to the pre-K graduation. And she looked at me confused, like, well, I just said you're not going, so I don't know what's happening, you know, in true mommy form. And I said, listen, sneak me in the back, then take me out the back. But one thing is not going to happen. I'm not going to miss that pre-K graduation. Now, we can leave right after, and I'm fine with that. Take my medicine. I'll go home. I'll lay down. I'll do whatever you need me to do. But I've got to be at that pre-K graduation. It's important to my life. to not miss that pre-K graduation. So she said, okay, I see how serious this is for you. So she put me in that car, and, I remember thinking about all the things Justin had been through and all the little babies in the class and working with the teachers. And, I felt like a helper, and I felt like it was my job. And I didn't know that one day I would become a youth pastor for a significant amount of my life. And I didn't realize that soon I'd be a school counselor, and that in that job that I would be able to help hundreds of kids every day, fundamentally directing where they would go in their life. I had no clue at that point that I'd have 4 children. My friends say that they swear that I always said I wanted 4 children. I don't remember that. 4 children is a lot, you guys. And so, yeah, that was my job. And it connected me to my passion. And so, as an artistic person, passion is very important. Between Miss Kluchner and her encouragement and her testing me, kind of that reverse psychology. Hey, you say you're a leader, but I don't see it. Maybe I thought something wrong about you. And Miss Johnson igniting that social awareness in me, connecting me. By the time I got to 8th and 9th grade, I was all about Black history and YMCA Black Achievers, and I wanted to be on the showcase, and I wanted to learn the principles of Kwanzaa, and they became a part of my affirmation statements. And I started memorizing mission statements because I realized that if I knew the mission statements by heart, that they could manifest in my life, and eventually they did. And I thought about all those times where I went to that pre-K classroom, and I thought about Austin Moore and him knocking on that desk with those pencils as if he was in Carnegie Hall or in the Alps with the blind boys of Alabama. And so, yeah, everything I needed, I got 5th and 6th grade year. And life has been a test. Yeah, Oprah says in your 30s, you start doing what you want to do. And in your 40s, you know what you don't want to do anymore. Yeah, and I'm in my 40s, and I've discovered as a mother and as a writer, as a counselor, as a therapist, as a preacher and a teacher, as a speaker, that connecting to my passion is what fuels me. It's what connects me back to my Creator. It's what keeps me enthralled with who I am. And if you've lost your passion, you don't have to create things out of the blue moon. You don't have to go and search for something outside of yourself. You don't have to connect to anything but what has already occurred in your life. Your story is your passion. Yeah, your story is your passion. When you can make a connection to who you are and who you used to be, it's not about your flaws. It's about the way things work together for the good. Now, the good book says that all things work together for the good to those who love the Lord, to those who are called according to his purpose. So when your purpose is being lived out, when you're living a life with your purpose driven every day by those elements of life that you've experienced in the past, it's no issue connecting back to your passion. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how those pieces of passion and how to connect back to your story will propel you forward in your future, right? Because all we have is our present, all right? And it's a gift. We have our present and it's a gift. But guess what? God is calling us to do something else, to be something else, to be more. And not anything outside of ourselves. He's calling us to be exactly who we are. Yeah, I'm passionate. Can you tell? I am passionate. And when you leave here today, I want you to be connected back to your passion.